So I want to talk a little bit about line qualities for this Zentangle project. So line quality definition is the characteristics of a line. You can have wispy, and you can have it thick and bold. You can have it dashed or dotted or made by a series of shapes that are seemingly connected to each other to make an implied line. And you can get different line qualities with different kinds of tools as well. I've got some different drawing pens and markers here. So I've got a Sharpie that's got a bolder line, a Sharpie that's got a thinner line, a Sharpie Micron pen. This one's really fine. And that one's more of a medium. These pens I love. These are called brush pens. So it's got a tip like a brush, and you can get a really fine line or a thick bold line or a line that changes as you draw with it. This one's getting a little low on ink, but I like drawing with these. A lot of illustrators use these kinds of pens as well. So different line qualities, and that's what I want to talk about. I'm really going to be looking for a strong variation of line qualities in your Zentangle assignment. The character of a pen and ink drawing really comes from the line qualities. If you like comic books and manga, things like that, you'll see if you really look at them that the line qualities are not all the same. They're not just all drawn with the same thickness. I've got this one kind of over here drawn. Everything's the same thickness, and it looks okay, I guess. It's, you can see what it is. And I sketched this initially in pencil, and I sketched this initially in pencil. You don't have to sketch your Zentangles in pencil first and then ink them, but it's often a good idea to make your initial sketch in pencil. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw this like I started to draw this. And you want to make sure you have clean hands when you work on a drawing. Sometimes it's good to kind of work from left to right so that you don't smudge your ink. You don't want to get your paper all dirty. That's part of craftsmanship. And if you notice here, I'm not perfectly getting on these lines I sketched. One reason is I'm kind of sitting behind my camera right now and working around the tripod. But the other reason is, if you see something that you want to adjust or do better or do slightly differently as you ink things, that's perfectly okay to do. So I'm inking this. It's not taking me that long. I'm trying to be as confident as I can be with my hand. That takes a little practice. If you aren't used to drawing, or it's been a while, or you just haven't been an art kid before, so you don't spend a lot of time really practicing that hand-eye coordination. I'm not looking for perfection, and I'm not perfect either, but I am looking for application of concept. So I'm looking for some creativity in your patterns that you design and develop, and more than anything, I'm looking for that variation of line quality. So you see here, again, I've started all of this with just the same thickness of Sharpie here. But I'm not going to finish with that. I'm going to come in and you'll see how modifying line quality can start to improve the look of the artwork. So I'm doing some contour lines right now, just kind of making them look like they're wrapping around things that almost look kind of 3D. Nothing says your Zentangle has to look anything like this. This is just kind of a random thing I pulled out of my head. So I've got these. Now that's all the same thing there. Now some different things I can do. I can come in and modify the line quality with the existing pen. Maybe come back and just double over it a few times. And in some places make things a little bolder. Here where I've got these double lines, if I make one of them bolder, it almost makes it look kind of 3D. But notice every place I've already made bold lines. Where's your eye looking now? Look how that's starting to break up and divide the space in a more interesting way. So if I just have one Sharpie, I can come in, or pencil. If you're using pencil, you can still make these adjustments here, and kind of fill in with things to make some more variation there. If you've got more than one Sharpie, or you just have a thicker Sharpie to work with, you can just start all your lines with that bolder line. And you can come in, and in some of these, if you want to kind of color things in or block things in, you can do that. And I don't really know exactly what I'm doing here. I don't really have a solid plan. I'm just kind of going with what I feel like. I'm just kind of doodling. It's called Zen Doodles. You can just kind of get into a meditative, chill frame of mind and have fun with this. Explore. Maybe I'll come in, and these parallel lines I'm doing, these are called hatching lines, but maybe I'll come in and make every other one thick or something here. I could even come in with thin lines again. Maybe I even want to put some little dots around things. There's not really a right or wrong to this. I'm just trying to create some visual interest. Now, the definition of a pattern is organized repetition of shapes. So if I want to make a pattern, any place I do one thing, if I kind of repeat what I'm doing, that will help make the pattern. And I'm looking for creative patterns. I'm going to come in and I can do some dense hatching. Hatching is parallel lines, and the closer together I make those lines, the darker things will look. So I can do some hatching in areas if I want to. So we're using our basic element of design, which is line. Lines make shapes, and shapes make pictures. We can also use lines, even with pen and ink, to do hatching to create different values. Value is how light or dark a color is, or the grayscale is. I can maybe come in and do some hatching along the edge here. Now this might be starting to get a little excessive, more than I'm expecting you to do. But at a minimum, I really am looking for a mixture of thick lines and thin lines. If it's very clear that you've got that throughout your Zentangle drawings, you will end up with full points for your Zentangle on both the practice assignment and the summative assignment. So make sure that you really get that variation of thicknesses. Now the character of the line, maybe I could do some stippling here as well. It's a shading technique, stippling, making little dots. You don't have to stipple these, but you can. I'm almost kind of making it look like there's a shadow inside of here. Maybe I'll do some stippling over here, make it look like there's a shadow. Now if you take your time and you do a nice job on just making lines and dots and circles, things like that, none of that is beyond what any of you are capable of doing, and you can make something that looks really cool. Something that you can be proud of. And that's what I aim for all of my students to do, is hopefully have you make something that you're actually proud of in the end. All of you are going to be at different places in your artistic development. Some of you may be really experienced. Some of you might not have drawn since the 3rd grade. But the degree of experience you have is not as important as the fact that you have the opportunity to grow. From wherever you are, you can start to grow as an artist, as a designer, as a thinker, as an engineer, as a creative problem solver. The point is, don't worry about how good you are or are not right now. Just worry about continuing to grow, continuing to get better. And that life lesson is true, not just for art, but for anything you decide you want to take an interest in. So if you compare, this first one, and I often see this, a lot of students, they'll draw it and they'll make everything the same line quality, but look how much more interest there is there with the thick lines and the thin lines and maybe a little texture for some hatching and stippling. And you're free to look at online examples on Google to get ideas for your patterns, as long as your final design in the end is still your own and you're not just completely copying what you see. So again, line qualities, characteristic of the line. I'm really looking for a variety of thicknesses in particular, but experiment with them, be creative, see what you can do.